How you guys doing today? Welcome back to another Sideline Talks production. As you guys can see, this is episode 1 of a series I like to call Scottie Pippen's Greatness, where we're really just breaking down the role he played in this Bulls dynasty. I know I said I was working on a Lonzo ball video in my last video and on Instagram, and I just want to let you guys know that is still definitely in the works. But I watched The Last Dance and I really just came away inspired. I felt this was something that I needed to do because I don't feel that Scottie Pippen gets the recognition and love he deserves for the role he played in this dynasty.
And if I get the rest of the guys laughing at him, he'll always bring the winner thing up. How many rings you got? He always throws that up at me. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't lucky enough to play with Scottie Pippen.
Are you like his...
So to start this series off the right way, let me start by giving him a proper introduction, and then we'll get into the game where I feel Scottie Pippen became Scottie Pippen, which was his rookie year, Game 5 against Cleveland, first round of the playoffs. Scottie grew up in Hamburg, Arkansas, a city with only 3,500 people. Grew up idolizing Dr. J, attended the University of Central Arkansas, an NAIA division school. For those who don't know, NAIA is equivalent to D3, if not lower. He started off as a 6'1" equipment manager over there. The most important part of his development off the court was definitely his growth spurt from his freshman to his sophomore year. Went from 6'1" to 6'6", entered the league at like 6'7", 6'8". Dominated his senior year, averaged 24 points a game, 4 assists, 10 rebounds off 60% field goal percentage. That domination and growth on the court led to him being the 5th pick in the 1987 draft, technically by the Seattle Supersonics, but the Bulls traded for him because they desperately needed to surround MJ with the proper help, and there was no one better than the 6'8" forward out of Central Arkansas who could dominate both ends of the floor. Obviously, we know what he ended up becoming, but this series is all about the journey and what it took to get there. Going into Scottie's rookie year, the Bulls hadn't made it past the first round of the playoffs in over a decade. They had just come off getting swept by the Celtics. It was very clear that the Bulls needed a secondary scorer. They needed a secondary option on offense. They didn't have someone they could depend on besides MJ. Pippen was great in this role because it made defenses pay more attention to him and less attention to MJ. You couldn't just throw 3 bodies at MJ. You had to account for where Pippen was at all times. But he wasn't necessarily a primary scorer on a championship team, but he is the golden standard for what a number 2 option on a team should be. He had a pretty solid rookie year. It was relatively quiet, but he did average 8 points, 0.7 blocks, a steal, and 2 assists, along with 4 rebounds a game. It wasn't until the 72nd game of the season that he had his career high of 24. If he were a rookie in today's NBA, social media would be eating him up, calling him a bust, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I think he had a solid rookie year. He looked very thin, still trying to fill out his frame. He stated in the Last Dance documentary that immediately it was kind of a culture shock to see, I'm no longer the best player on my team.
Scottie came in and said, I'm going to be better than Michael Jordan as a rookie.
Recognized that instantly that, you're not the top guy on the basketball team anymore.
It kind of humbled him. It kind of forced him to take a step back. His progression took not long, but it took a little bit longer than you would expect for a 5th overall pick. Because nowadays you pick someone at 5 and you expect them to be great immediately. It wasn't until Game 5 in a best-of-5 series against the Cavs that Scottie Pippen got his first start of the year. It came at a time where the Bulls needed it bad because they had won 1 and 2, but they had lost 3 and 4. Cleveland was getting hot. Their front court was dominating. The Bulls needed help on both ends of the ball. Coach Doug Collins knew that the right call was to give Pippen the start. It's a lot of pressure. Your rookie year, your first start in a must-win game. The Bulls hadn't been past the first round in over a decade. Pippen was the difference. Without Pippen, the Bulls don't win this game. So without further ado, let's get right into the game that started the dynasty, even if the rest of the NBA didn't know it yet.
Number 33, Scottie Pippen.
Bulls came out all over the place to start the game. Scottie couldn't really get much going. MJ was the only one getting any buckets for the Bulls. Horace Grant came off the bench, gave him a couple good buckets. But around the end of the first quarter, it was 30-14. Largest deficit of the game was 18. Seems like the first quarter, second quarter, they were shaking off the nerves, but once the nerves were shaken off, things really got going, and they got going fast. This goes without saying, but it really just pops out when I'm watching this game in the first half. Bulls really had no go-to offense besides get MJ off screens, get MJ the ball, whatever he can do. It really was one man versus a team at certain points. That's why it's so important that Scottie solidified himself as the number 2 guy after this game, because MJ needed some pressure taken off of him because defenses were just hounding him, and he would still somehow find a way to get to the basket, to get to the free throw line, to make shots, which is absolutely incredible. But at the same time, no one can win championships alone.
4 games.
I don't know if you'd say there'd be the balance when you look at the Chicago Bulls, though.
No. Question is it one great man against one good team?
Well, if it's a tight game going into the 4th, that's what it will be.
This was basically the league-wide perception of them until these 2 guys showed up. Here we are in the second quarter. Bulls had relaxed more at this time. They brought the lead down to 4. It looked as if the nerves had started to leave Pippen's body and he started to get more loose. Here he finds MJ for a nice oop. At this point, it's a 2-point game, and this is where things really start to get fun. For those of you that may not know, this Cavs team was the last time they were relevant before LeBron James. They were a really well-rounded squad. They had Mark Price as their lead guard, Brad Daugherty at center, John Williams, Ron Harper, Larry Nance, Craig Elo. That team was very complete. Anytime the Bulls would go on any sort of run, the Cavs were always there to answer. Mark Price would hit a big-time shot. Brad Daugherty was dominating the inside. Ron Harper had a great game that game as well until he got hurt in the third quarter, I believe. This team did not go down easy whatsoever. First and foremost, shout out to Doug Collins for continuing to stick with Pippen after he struggled in the first quarter and early in the second. You never know how much that belief can really impact a player's game. Here you'll see this nasty reverse slam on Larry Nance. Ref said he stepped out of bounds, but I'll let you guys be the judge of that. This is what Pippen was capable of, pure domination. At the time, he was too big to be guarded by a guard and too quick to be guarded by a big man.
Pippen and Sparrow make up the backcourt with Grant, Corzine, and Oakley. So we see a bit of Chicago's versatility with Scottie Pippen playing guard.
As his career goes on, I think Scottie Pippen will be able to play 3 spots: lead guard, off guard, and the small forward position.
Here you'll see a nasty dunk by Scottie before half. He only had 8 in the first half, but you know what that means. He had 16 in the second half, and he was just getting started. Straight off the bat in the second half, Scottie was being aggressive, trying to get to the rim, taking his shot without fear, and you could just sense that the end of the second quarter really gave him that confidence boost he needed. No matter what he does on the offensive end, it's what he does on the defensive end that just really pops out on film. Whenever he would force a turnover, it would always lead to easy points on offense, and that's what the Bulls needed the most this game. Him and MJ go so well together because MJ was a spark plug on offense while Pippen was a spark plug on defense. This right here is a perfect example of what the Bulls were missing. He was able to create his own shot, make a big play on defense that led to points on offense. I cannot stress this enough. The Bulls needed someone who was capable of doing this so desperately. Someone to really take the pressure off MJ, and Scottie was doing it. But this is the first time anyone had really seen him do it when it mattered most. They were going on this big time run to end the third quarter, and the best news about it was that it was happening all with MJ on the bench. Pippen was really showing he could be that guy. This was his coming out party. Skip to the mid-fourth because it was kind of just a little bit of a back and forth. Bulls were ahead the entire fourth quarter. Here it was 94-92. MJ had missed 4 straight shots, and you could just sense the defense starting to hone in on him. Here you'll see 2 bodies on him, which is perfect timing. I like how the next possession, look how aggressive Scottie is and looking for the ball. Hits a turnaround J to put the lead to 4 with 4:40 left. Then he hits another bucket to put him up 8, and this was really the nail in the coffin. Pip did a lot of the dirty work this game. It keeps the ship afloat because you can't put so much on MJ's shoulders because he is only one man at the end of the day. Fouled out here at the end of the game, but by this point it was already out of reach. This game was the beginning. It was the beginning of something special, and you could just sense it. Even if the rest of the NBA maybe didn't know yet, Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan were here to stay, and they were just getting started. As always, guys, thank you so much for staying this long if you did. We're just getting started with this. I'm going to drop every Sunday morning. Something to look forward to before the Last Dance episodes drop. I'm having a lot of fun learning about Scottie's career. I really feel like he's underappreciated when it comes to the history of basketball. He was one of the all-time greats who just so happened to be matched up with the all-time great. But anyway, guys, make sure you like and subscribe. I'll be back on Sunday and possibly midweek for this Lonzo video. I'm out of here. I appreciate it.